Good evening, and welcome to Soluble, America's Political Central. We're going to come to you tonight with a subject that hits close to home because it's dealing with our own, as far as Negroes in America and as it relates to politics. And using politics to our advantage, using politics to get a level footing in America, more equal opportunity. Until the playing field is actually level, and we don't have to fight this fight anymore. Just get out to the voting booth on a regular basis, whether it be a 2-year vote, 4-year vote, 6-year vote, or what have you. So in dealing with one of our customers here in our day labor, we begin to talk politics, and we begin to realize just how daunting a task it is to get Negroes involved, and somewhat why. We have that, as I said, 90 something percentile in the Democratic Party, but it all depends on turnout. The 90 something percentile means nothing if we don't get the numbers out. So in talking to the customer, and all politics are local. So we begin to realize, just how deep this thing is, and so we decided to take on the subject of corrupt Negro politicians. That's the name of tonight's broadcast: corrupt Negro politicians. Now, in looking and trying to solve the political back and forth, to get more partisanship in American politics, to get more participation, from people of color, so we can, as much as possible, put Democrats in office, because this is the party that gives us a foothold for power faster than the Republican Party. So in doing our research and talking to the customer, we realized just how deep it is as far as corruption and Negro politicians. It runs real deep. Now, being that politics are local, and that's pretty much where it starts out at, we decided to, name names, because, it's real important if we're going to get to a solution. Sometimes, people think, it's not, good to name names. It's not proper, but we're going to have to, put these politicians on blast in order to, our view, get those who are on the fence about voting. Some are not voting at all because of this. So we're gonna have to tell it like it is. We're gonna have to put them on blast, and we're gonna have to demand that they be accountable. And hopefully we can bring in a new breed, a new generation of elected people of color officials that don't indulge in this kind of political practice that does nothing for the constituents. When the government makes a financial path for people in America, in whatever state, whatever neighborhood, but when they make that financial commitment, or that first step, if you will, to help struggling neighborhoods, struggling communities, help with small business loans, what I'm saying, to help people more readily, more faster achieve, or have a chance to achieve the American dream. And we have, these politicians, which has come to our light, Negro politicians, that get this money, that have oversight of this money, and it's not being put to the use that it's intended for the neighborhoods, the struggling communities, for small business loans. And it's very discouraging. It's very discouraging. And at Soluble here, we would be remiss if we didn't, put them on blast, name names, give you the details. And it, as daunting as the task may be or may seem, we're going to try to bring forth encouragement and motivation for a new generation, a new type of Negro politician that goes to Washington, D.C., goes to the state level, wherever he or she may serve. And they're doing the job on behalf of their constituents, like they've sworn to do. Now, I mean, we're not in politics here at Soluble, although, we feel like it's the path of least resistance. So we're going to try to, put it out there for the people, to encourage a steady voter turnout, because, seeing what happened in the Trump years, and how, it made us realize how important voting is if we're going to try to change the suffering, the hardship, the setbacks that we people of color deal with on a regular basis in America. Now, in looking at these corrupt politicians, we start to realize that the struggles that we're still dealing with in some regards would probably be greatly reduced or not at all if these politicians who are sworn to serve are sworn to be public servants, good stewards of the taxpayers' money, being, allocated out, being dispensed out to the proper places that it should be. There probably would be, more participation in politics. There, if this money was used in the right way, it could go a long ways in reducing crime, reducing poverty, which leads to crime in a lot of these neighborhoods. So lo and behold, we're going to try and do everything that we can to call them out, put them on blast, moving forward in the year of our Lord, January, in the year of our Lord 2023. Our goal is going to be to put them on blast henceforth, to make sure that, if there's anyone not doing their job, or, all corrupt, we're going to demand that they're ousted. We're going to demand that, they're removed from the position and disqualified from running again. Whatever the law states there, whether we're going to have to do petitions, or what have you. But it's very discouraging for younger people of color in America who may be aspiring to, get into public service, run for office, to make a difference in their lives, in their neighborhoods, in the lives of their families and loved ones. So, as I said, with this coming to light, it's understandable somewhat now to see why we may have trouble, getting our turnout up. Because, at the local level, especially when people know these things, when people see these things happening, then the word spreads. It gets around. It gets around. And it's very discouraging to people who think that, they're going to go out and vote, and, they hope that their vote will make a difference. And then, they see corrupt Negro politicians who are in office doing corrupt things, doing underhanded things. So, they start to feel like the system doesn't work for them. It'll never work. It's always going to be this crooked and underhandedness. And, it discourages from voting, discourages citizens from participating wholeheartedly in the political process. And so, in talking with one of our customers, we now have a better understanding now, of what could be the problem with turnout. Now, this is not to say that every politician who is a person of color is corrupt. That's not where we're going here at all. But, when we see it, we have to call a spade a spade. When we see it, we have to call it out. Because, as I said, number one, it's discouraging especially for the young people out here who are we are trying to encourage to vote. Because that's, amongst the Negro population, that's where a lot of we're struggling to get our numbers out with a lot of our young people. So the last thing that we want them to think is that, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. Why waste my time? And, as I said, with corrupt Negro politicians, at the local level, especially, we have to deal with them. We have to call them out, and let the young people see that this is not the sum of all our parts. That this status quo will go away, will no longer exist. But it's going to be up to us to change the status quo. You know, we're going to have to call it out whenever we see it, wherever we see it. It could be in the state of Georgia. It could be in the state of Nevada. It could be in the state of Kansas. It could be in any of the 50 some odd states where, we have corrupt Negro politicians. And, we know the struggle. We know the struggle. Could it be possible that the struggle is being prolonged in a lots of cases, in lots of ways by, these corrupt Negro politicians who are delaying the process, delaying progress by their crooked, underhanded dealings, doing the good old boy deals, and just, not living up to their expectation, not living up to their oath. And, it's always going to be the same if we don't take action to change. And more than anything, we have to call it out. We have to call it out because, when it comes to politics, and especially the Negro politician, you know where you've come from. In most cases, if you're a Negro in this country, you don't come from a long lineage of wealth, of great inheritance. We've had to start from nothing, from where our ancestors, came from slavery into freedom. We in most cases, if you're a Negro in America and you're going into politics, you could be a first generation college participant in your family. You could be the first one that's graduated high school in your family. But 9 times out of 10, in most cases, we share the same common struggle. As far as trying to go, from nowhere in this country where our ancestors were slaves to trying to get on an equal footing in every area, every aspect of America that we can, whether it's politics, whether it's sports, whatever. We want a level playing field. And so, it's really a disgrace. It is really a disgrace that realizing that these politicians who know the struggle, they know the origins of the struggle, they know the causes of the struggle, and yet they'll run for office. They'll win. They'll raise their hand to take the oath of office and get in and do these corrupt things to people who are literally dying for representation, good representation. And that's what, you're campaigning on, and you're deceiving the people. You're deceiving the people. So, corrupt Negro politicians, going forth from this day forward, we're gonna put them on blast, and we're gonna keep them on blast because it's the ultimate betrayal to your constituents. Now, our goal here at Sergeant, as I said, to get Democrats and more often than not, this 90-something percentile of Negroes to swarm the polls, to turn out, to get the turnout up and keep it up, so that it makes a difference in our daily lives as far as having solid representation there. Because we realize now that with solid representation, a lot of our problems will be dealt with because we'll have that representation there to speak for us, and slowly we'll see the problems go away. The negatives that are in our neighborhoods, they'll slowly begin to disappear. But if we're sending, if we have politicians of Negro origin who are corrupt. What are we getting here? So, this prolonged problem has been has caused a serious setback for Negroes in America. And here at Soluble, we're going to press the rewind button because you know oftentimes we would think that we don't see the type of financial representation, we don't see the type of opportunities, and so our first tendency is to cry foul and cry that it's racism, that it's racist politicians. But in light of the discovery of the corrupt Negro politician, we have to press the rewind button there just a little bit because we have to make sure that we clean this up because we would be not doing ourselves any favor as people of color in this country, striving for that equal footing, that level playing field. We will not be doing ourselves any service in this country if we point the finger at other people, other races of people who may be politicians, and we don't clean up this own mess that we have going on right here with people of color who should be representing us to the fullest extent, to give us that opportunity to get that piece of the American pie, to achieve the American dream. And so, before we cry foul racism, before we point the finger at Republican politicians, we're going to hold our own accountable first and foremost. And in light of this new discovery, we have to straighten this because we don't want to be playing the victim, always stuck in victimhood when it's our own corrupt politicians of our own race, of our own people, who are really causing a more bigger setback for the neighborhoods, for the communities, because they have corrupted themselves with greed, raw ambition. And it is what it is. There's a saying that goes that power corrupts. And so it's not easy. Who knows? I'm not a politician, but maybe it's something like to the extent of a junkie trying to stop using drugs. To the point where they have good intentions, and we know that the road to hell is paved with them. But they have these good intentions, and it starts out good, but somewhere along the way, they begin to weeble and wobble. So that's going to be our first steps, starting here tonight at Soluble. Our pledge to you, our listeners, our viewers, is we're going to deal with the corrupt Negro politician first. And once, we expose that, once we call it out for what it is, and then we can, clearly see what's in the way after that. Because for all we know, if we get the corrupt Negro politician out the way, then that brighter day might be right there. For all we know, we could be misled as people, as constituents, to thinking that it's racism or it's racist politicians is the reason why we're being held back. And it's really our own kind with no conscience. And it takes, it really takes a low-down individual who runs for politics on the pledge of improving the lives of people, and they get in and they start doing their own thing and forget about the people. It's a shame. And so here we go, the corrupt Negro politician that needs to be dealt with, especially from the left, from the Democratic side. I mean, it shouldn't exist, period. And we know that there is oversight. We know that there are steps to be taken, to deal with corrupt politicians. And we thank the Almighty for the system that we live in, where we have these checks and balances. But before they get caught, and eventually they will if they stay in it long enough. But before they get caught, This is what's going on, and we the people are suffering. So, first and foremost, our goal here is to solve it. Our goal is to get to the bottom of it and make it better. That's our goal first and foremost. And as I said, we're going to name names. We're going to, you know, kind of lay out what's happened, and we move on from there. But trust and believe, we have to deal with this problem. And as I said, it's not politicians on a whole. It's not a Democratic problem or a Republican problem. It's an American problem that has to stop, because it hurts us, and it hurts our ability to convince others to join in the political process when they see this kind of behavior. So starting off, first of all, right here local, in the great city of Jacksonville, in the great state of Florida, which is where Soluble is being broadcast. We're going to start with a local politician, Corrine Brown, raised $800,000 for college scholarships, but without reading into great detail, just brushing up, there was only like two awarded. $800,000 for scholarships. Now, I moved to Jacksonville and made it my second home state in 1997. My home state is Georgia. So in moving down, you're kind of filling out the turf. You're kind of getting to know the locals. Getting trying to get the feel and shake of things. As you settle in to a new environment. And when I arrived in Jacksonville in 1997, Corrine Brown was a big shot heavyweight in political circles in Jacksonville, Florida. A big shot heavyweight. Now, from reliable sources, you know, we've learned that this skimming off the top goes a long ways back. Goes a long ways back. And when this story first broke about the $800,000 slush fund that was set up in disguise of giving kids scholarships, I thought that it was a right on investigation, but I thought that it was something that also came up when Corrine started to talk about the disparities in the schools down here in Jacksonville. Making the point that some of the schools on some sides of town had more, had better access to taxpayers' dollars, if you will, and there wasn't an equal opportunity, whether it was in academics, whether it was in sports, or what have you. There wasn't an equal opportunity, and she somewhat began to turn the temperature up on this issue. And so, in giving her the benefit of the doubt, as I said, I'm new. I'm new to the city. She's a political heavyweight. And I'm thinking that, this is something that is being, if there's a skeleton in a closet, it's been there, and it's being brought out now because, she's being vocal about the schools. And that's how politics works sometimes. If you're gonna ruffle a bunch of feathers, make sure that you have a clean slate. Make sure that you don't have nothing that can be dug up that can contaminate you, or taint you, or thwart your ability to carry out your mission. And so, what we've learned here recently is that, as I said, this goes way back. Skimming off the top at Edward Waters. That's where it began. So, it was real disappointing, very disappointing. Do see just how deep this runs? Because the public servant should be just that. They have a salary. They have a salary. If I'm not mistaken, around the time that Corrine Brown last held the congresswoman's position, her salary is like 170 something thousand dollars annually. So what's the problem? As I said, greed, corruption, and it hurts our ability to to grow, to bring others in, to fully engage in the process is very discouraging. And in finding this out is very disappointing. And as I said, we would be remiss not to hammer it, stay on it, because first things first. We can't point our finger across the aisle and say, Republicans are doing this. They're cutting programs here. They're trying to stop Obamacare there. When we have political leaders with a D affiliated beside their name that are just as corrupt as Republicans, probably more so. And more than likely it is because they're Democrats. And we, the Democrats, the party of the working class, are depending on them to lead us in the right direction. To tell us the places to go, to direct us to the funds. Where are the loans? Where are the opportunities for jobs? We're counting on these people to point us in the right direction. And so, we're going to attack it, as I said, in order to encourage those who may be discouraged to join the process. We can't let it win. We can't let wrong in this way win, or we'll be continuing to face doom and gloom, if you will, in political circles. As the Republican numbers rise, then our future is in more jeopardy. People of color in this country and other so-called minorities. So here you have Miss Corrine Brown, as I said, raised $800,000, gave out 2 scholarships, and it turned into a slush fund for things like movie tickets, concert passes, sporting events, paying on some of her bills. But yet, you're out raising money for scholarships. Now, obviously these politicians who have done these things in the past, like Corrine Brown, and who may be currently doing them now, we're going to have to make it hard for them to sleep at night. Because as you see, they don't have a problem. They don't have a problem being corrupt, raising their right hand to some oath of office and getting in the office and doing nothing, doing underhanded things. And, if we're going to take and say, okay, let's look at the good as well as the bad, then we're going to be losing there. We're going to be losing. We can't afford, as a struggling race in this country, trying to get an equal footing. We can't afford to, compare the two or look at both of them and weigh the balance thereof. Either you're doing your job or you're not. Either you're doing the job that you campaigned to do, or you're not. Or you're not. There's no comfort. There is no, relaxing in the fact that, the abuser only abuses 50% of the time when he gets angry. Sometimes he smashes things. And then the other 50% of the time he takes it out, in physical violence. What kind of comfort is that? To live with this unknown? And so that's what we have with our politicians. When they're raising their hand, taking the oath of office, and then they're getting into office and doing, contrary to what the oath that they took. And that's kind of what it's like in comparing it to an abuser. You don't know what his next move is going to be. That's not comforting. You know that he has a tendency for violence. And so that's the same thing with these politicians. They have a tendency to be corrupt. And so, that alone, regardless of what good did they do, that alone disqualifies them. That alone calls for them to be put on blast. $800,000 raised by a slush fund created by Congresswoman Corrine Brown. Now, could we have used her right here in what's going on now with the battle for the House speakership? Could she have been a strong Democratic voice in the new session of the House this year? Yes. If she hadn't went the way of corruption, that weakens us. That weakens our representation in the people's house. And so, money that could be directed to Jacksonville may be redirected to St. Augustine, may be redirected to Panama City. We don't know. And so, we're going to have to stay on the ground, stay active, keep digging, fact finding, talking to elected officials so, we can bring you all the relevant information so you will know how to vote and make it worthwhile. But first and foremost, as I said, the Negro politician, the corrupt Negro politician, has to be put on blast. They have to be called out going forward because this is, one of the biggest disappointments that, we can face as a people when we're putting them in office and thinking that, okay, we voted, the election is over, they're in office, and now we're thinking we should be able to rest assured that this person will serve this community, neighborhood, or what have you for the better, and we'll begin to see positive changes in the neighborhood. If you're a politician of Negro origin, and you're not involved in corruption, but just collecting a check and not really getting out and dealing with your constituents, you are wrong. You are wrong. You're not upholding your pledge of what you have told the people that you would do. And so, it's alarming. It's quite alarming. But tackle it we must because we're trying to encourage voter turnout. We're trying to encourage, more voter registration and people get involved to make a difference. And so it's very necessary. It's very necessary because now we see, as I said, that some of our biggest setbacks, some of the most hardship that's created in America in neighborhoods of people of color is more possibly being done by Negro politicians who are skimming off the top. So we're going to name names. We're going to call them out. And, we're going to, more than anything, hold them accountable. We're going to hold them accountable. $800,000 raised in a slush fund created by Corrine Brown. $800,000. 2 scholarships. 2 measly scholarships. And then, Miss Brown is off partying like a rock star with money that supposedly should be sending kids to college or helping kids with their college tuition. As I said, very discouraging, very low down. And, as I said, we can't point the finger. And championing Corrine Brown and her causes, I've witnessed this. I've witnessed her, point to the fact that, it's racist, it's other racist Caucasian politicians that's holding Jacksonville back. That's unfair to certain parts of Jacksonville and thus and such. And she could have a point. She very well may have a point. But here's the thing: you're losing your credibility. You're losing your credibility as a vocal advocate for your constituents when you're taken. When you're taken, out of one side of your mouth is racist politicians. It's racist Caucasian politicians in different districts. In Tallahassee, that's doing the damage. And as I said, it very well may be so. But 2 wrongs don't make a right. And that's what, we have to put that's where we have to put our thinking. And that's what we have to throw our weight behind. Because, there are people that's really hurting out here. There are people who have great ideas great business ideas, but they don't have the financial backing that, could turn that business idea into reality and make a difference in their neighborhood, create a job or two, give people hope for a better tomorrow. So, you know, down with corrupt Negro politicians, and up with, people of color who are running for office, who are going to do the right thing. They're going to raise their hand, and then they're going to put their best foot forward to make the everyday lives of their constituents better. Okay, this next up on the list. This was, from a long time ago. But here we have Miss Jennifer Carroll. She's a Republican, but it doesn't matter. A corrupt politician, a corrupt Negro politician, is just that. It doesn't matter which party or stripe. I mean, of course, here at Soluble, we're staunchly Democrat. So our pledge to you, our position is that when it's a Negro politician who is in the party of the Democrat and they're doing it, it's even worse. It's worse than Republicans. And we should come down on them even harder. We should come down on them even harder than we do Republicans, because we expect them to be the party of integrity, ethics, honesty. And, as I said, with people of color in this country, we if we have these opportunities, we have to be able to take advantage of them. And we need, honest stewards of the taxpayer money that may be being doled out by state, federal government, or what have you, to give us an equal footing in business, in home ownership, to give us that equal footing. So it's very important. Now, Jennifer Carroll, she resigned after 2 years, lieutenant governor, as a result of a federal probe into some kind of internet cafe that she was backing. Now, we don't know, all the details of it, the whole extent of it, but we know, there was something corrupt going on there for her to resign. And, as far as I remember, because it's been a while back, but as I said, we just, decided to touch on a few local here in the great city of Jacksonville, Florida. So she falls under that category as a local politician. Jennifer Carroll, Republican, lieutenant governor under Governor Rick Scott, had to resign after 2 years as a result of a federal probe. Now, we don't know where she was scamming, what she was collecting, and not reporting, stuff, once again, underhanded tactics, doing things under the table. And, it's simple greed. We know it's simple greed. These elected officials, they have a salary. They're not in these positions free of charge. Being a congresswoman or congressman in this country, it pays. It pays a great salary, and if I'm not mistaken, I think it comes with somewhat of a pension also. Same thing with the lieutenant governor here. So, we of course, the first question is gonna be why. But from there, we have to launch. We have to launch into action. And as I say, look for that new age Negro politician who is going to really make that difference, who is going to get out there and champion your causes and roll up their sleeves and actually get to work doing the business of the people. Doing the business of the people. And as I said, these positions, they pay. They pay. So, for a politician to go there and then, start engaging in corrupt activity, it's just sinister. It's just the lowest of the low to take, your salary plus the taxpayer money and misuse it also. And when it catches up with them, we're going to push for them to be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. Because, as I said, especially with Negroes in America, we need this more than ever. Our neighborhoods are the ones that look different or deprived. And our representatives now, we realize, can do a lot better job getting involved. They want to run for the office for the prestige, for the name, for the fame. Well, we here at Soluble, our position moving forward, and we encourage others to join us, is to make sure that they're doing their job. We're going to call them out to the fullest extent. We're going to call them out. Moving on down the line, from Miss Jennifer Carroll, we have Jackson, just local here starting out tonight. Jacksonville counselors, Katrina and Reggie Brown. No relation. Now, but do you see this Brown name thing, how it rings in Jacksonville? Here we got Corrine Brown. Now we have Katrina and Reggie Brown, the Brown gang of no relation, all scheming to defraud, all getting into politics, and championing causes for helping the African American community, helping to create jobs, helping to make things better, that would cut down on crime, cut down on poverty, and give people an equal footing, create jobs, create better communities, create a better economy. And it's just so distasteful and so disheartening when we have councilwoman and councilman like Katrina and Reggie Brown to be such advocates for funding, to say, give us a chance. We can't do this and that there because, you won't give us a chance. We have no financial opportunity. We have nothing, to start with. We have nothing to start with as far as finances to take, nothing and turn it into something. So, through a loan in Small Business Administration, they got a loan for $3 million. $3 million. And the plan was to take a empty warehouse, take an empty warehouse and turn it into a factory that would produce barbecue sauce as a result of her father's business, Jerome Brown's Barbecue. To set up a factory that would mass produce this barbecue sauce, and it would be a win-win for the city, for on the rolls of the taxpayers, and it also was create jobs. So that was one of the stipulations of being given the money to create so many odd jobs. That was one of the stipulations. And so Katrina, she signed off on it. So she knew what was required. She knew what she had to do as far as getting this money and falling to the letter of the law, the things that would make lives better for people here in Jacksonville and be a win-win for the city also. So, she misused the loan money, no jobs for the struggling neighborhoods, and some kind of way, bringing Reggie Brown in to say that I paid him X amount of dollars and his company to do this work in the warehouse. And it was all lies and fraud. All lies and fraud. Now, to those people who were supposed to get those jobs that should have been created, those are people's lives. Those are people's lives that are being affected by a councilwoman who is saying one thing and doing another. And then, it's upsetting because she's playing the race card. She's going to say that, y'all, and we know, in most cases when that's coming from the mouth of a Negro, they're talking about Caucasian. But to say, y'all are not treating us fairly. Y'all are not giving us a chance here or there. And then you get the chance. You get the opportunity to make a difference in people's lives. And you go the way of corruption. And so, what are we left with? No improvements in the neighborhood. Those are lives that have been affected who could have used that job, who could have used that money. It hurt the city tax rolls. And so, our mission here at Soluble now pressing the rewind button. Had this information been brought to our attention last year, we would already, we would already breach the subject. But we just got a hold of the information, and it's very important that we bring it to you, the people, because it could be affecting our ability to get people registered, to get people on the voter rolls, to get turnout up as a path of least resistance, And, this is, as I've said before, this is a grown man and grown woman's game. This is for the Negro who is ready to be accountable and take a responsibility for their own destiny. Because we now see that it's possible that we can have politicians running for office, getting in said office, and doing anything but what they've campaigned to do. Fulfilling zero promises. How could that be? How could that be? And the sad part about it is some of these same politicians are the ones who are crying foul the loudest, pointing the finger at the other side of the aisle, at the other party, at America itself. And then, you get the opportunity to make a difference, to make power moves in deprived communities, disenfranchised neighborhoods. You have a golden opportunity here. $3 million. $3 million in a small business loan to Katrina Brown to open a warehouse that would produce jobs and economic opportunity here in Jacksonville, Florida. So, let her fall to the back of the line and stay there. And, to those who are discouraged, to those who are on the fence, we here at Soluble, we're here for you. We'll champion your cause. We'll take it to the highest halls of power in order to advocate on your behalf. We have to take it one day at a time. It's not easy because we put so much faith and trust in the process, in the people who are running for office with promises to represent us. And, it takes a lot to, get back on that horse again. It takes a lot when you're knocked off in this way. It takes a lot to get back on him. But get back on we must. Get back on we must, because in politics we're dealing with governance. And, we're going to have to play, a critical role in governing ourselves. If we want what's best for us in America, we're going to have to champion it. We're going to have to spearhead it. And we're never going to get there, with corrupt politicians. Last but not least, on our list is, here local, here in the state of Florida. I don't know about local, but local as far as statewide. Gubernatorial candidate Andrew Gillum. Now, this man let a lot of people down, myself included. I knew that, after the first time around when he barely lost to Governor DeSantis, I said, to myself, the second time around, it was a close race. The first time around, it was a very close race. Very close. So my thinking was that, the second time around, when he runs, he'll get it. Because, DeSantis is in office now. We'll get a chance to see how he really governs from a hard right point of view. Very racist. Very partisan. So there was no reason that getting out and still, keeping his face in the game, keeping his voice out there, being able to say, you see what Governor DeSantis is doing. He beat me this time. He beat me this time around, but you see what he's doing. Now we can put a stop to this because there's going to be another election in 2022. He's going to be up for re-election. and we can put a stop to this. But it's over. It's over. This man, running for governor the first time around, watching one of his campaign commercials where he said his grandmother told him, to go out here and to make a difference, to be this person of upstanding, helping others and this, thus and such. This was a campaign commercial. His grandmother told him. And I must say, it was a very convincing commercial. I was really impressed. I was ready to, I began to sit back and envision him as a great leader for the people, who was going to do things different. We were going to be able to see different things in Florida that we hadn't seen in a long time, because the governor's mansion is constantly occupied by Republican politicians. So Andrew Gillum, we thought was the answer. Could it be discouraging to would-be voters who are aspiring to vote the next time around, that looks and says, I didn't vote for him this time, but the next time around, I'm going to vote for him. And lo and behold, the gubernatorial candidate is down in Miami, Florida, surrounded by drugs, questionable sexual activity, and he's a married man. Political career is doomed. Political career is doomed. So, on behalf of the people, and that's what, all of these corrupt Negro politicians have in common. They raised their hand and they campaigned and ran for office on the pretense of making lives better for people. That's what public service is all about. That's what public service is all about. Serving others, working for the American citizen, your constituents in any given neighborhood, in any given community. But for all these corrupt Negro politicians, this is what they had in common: Corrine Brown, Jennifer Carroll, Katrina Brown, Reggie Brown, Andrew Gillum. And that's just a few here local. That's not all of them. That's not all of them. So, it takes a really special low-down person. These politicians are worse than racist Republican politicians. I mean, we can expect it. Out of racist Republican politicians, at least we can expect it. We understand it. We understand the position of the States' Rights Party, who want small, limited government, and so they could champion causes for the wealthy, and they could take politics back to their states and do all kind of dirt that they want to. We get that. But from our own to champion a cause, to run for office on the promise that you will deliver for the people, that you will make lives better for the people. And as I said, let's not forget, we can't, as people of color in this country, trying to get an equal footing. We can't look at and take the good with the bad here. That's the sucker's way out. Only a sucker would go for that. And if we as a people are going to look at, everything Corrine Brown did, good and bad, weighted balance thereof. Everything Jennifer Carroll did, good and bad, weighted balance thereof. Katrina and Reggie, gubernatorial candidate Gillum. What does that leave us with? Still nothing. Still nothing. Because you didn't get out here and walk in the neighborhoods and get on the microphone, the bullhorn, get on TV and say, I'm going to do a lot of good, for my community, but I'm probably going to do a little bad too. So I'm asking you to, at the end of my body of work, take a look at both of them and weigh the balance thereof. People would be aghast if that kind of statement was made. Would that candidate run and get a lot of votes? No. So it's very deceptional. It's very deceptional. And it sets us back generations. It sets us back generations. And there's no recovery. And there will be no recovery until we call them out, we put them on blast, and we demand politicians, especially people of color who are politicians, we demand full accountability. We're going to have to demand it. No one is going to do it for us. No one is going to do it for us. When Caucasians see corrupt Negro politicians, they're not going to scream from the top of the rooftop. It's going to be up to us. If we sit back and let it happen, don't say anything, don't do anything, then it's going to continue to happen. It's not going to stop. It's not going to get better. And, that's why, Soluble came into being. We decided to, get up off the couch complaining, finger pointing, and try to make a difference. And thus we launched the podcast. And, we're going to attack where we should. We're going to commend. We're going to compliment, congratulate where we should. But one of the most important things that we can do now in hitting the rewind button here at Soluble, pressing on the brakes a little bit, because, initially listening to us here, you would think that it's all about the bad Republicans and the things that they're doing to hurt us in this country. And now we realize, that we got something even greater, something even worse. Now, it's hard to imagine. Who would have thought that as a Negro in this country would have thought that there would be in politics something worse than a racist Republican politician? We thought that, that was the lowest of the low. But lo and behold, even lower than the racist Republican politician, lo and behold, is the corrupt Negro politician. That is the lowest of the low for people of color in this country, for Negroes in America who are looking for these people who look like us, who come from the same place that we've come from, who can relate to our struggle. And they're actually getting into office and doing corruptible things, forgetting the people, forgetting the promises that they made. They're too lazy. All of a sudden now they don't have time. They're making excuses. But at the end of the day, it's going to have to be up to us as a people to acknowledge and take a look in the mirror and be honest with ourselves to say they're actually making it worse. They're actually those that are corrupt. Those that are corrupt. And that's, not to paint all politicians who are people of color with the same broad brush. So, that's important to know. Those that are corrupt are making it worse. And they're worse. They're worse. Way worse than any, racist Republican politician that anyone could think of in any given state, in any given city, in any given district. They're worse. They're the worst of the worst. And so we're going to back up. We're going to call them out. We're going to hold them accountable. We're going to attack them wherever and whenever we find them. Because in looking for a solution, we have to deal with the problem head on. And that's why we're here to debate it, to talk about it, to bring the ideas to the forefront. And in future debates, in future discussions, I think that we should all agree, and I could be wrong. There could be others who beg to differ. But I think that it's important that we agree that we can't take a corrupt Negro politician and say, look at the good that they've done, and take the bad also and put them together and weigh the balance thereof. We're losing every time if we settle for that. If we go for that formula, we're going to be losing every single time, because that was not part of the deal when they raised their hand to take the oath of office. Their promise was to go out and serve the people. They never said one time that they would serve the people, and occasionally, they would do something corrupt. They would embezzle. They would launder money. They would create slush funds. They never campaigned on any of that. That it would happen only on occasion. Whereas, the lion's share of their time, the 85, 90% of their time, they were going to be doing the people's business. And then here we have another 10% where, we were going to go corrupt. We're going to walk upright, 90% of the time. And then 10% of the time, we're going to go down on our belly and start crawling like a snake. They never campaigned on that. So it'd be foolish of us to settle for or go for looking at the bad and the good and weighing the balance thereof. We only want the good because that's what's going to take away the struggle. If we settle for weighing the balance thereof of good and bad, then that's going to put us 2 steps forward and 3 steps back every time. Where is the progress there? Where is the progress? And so, it can be said, it can be pretty much said that, these corrupt Negro politicians have gone a long ways in holding people of color back in this country. Maybe more so than racist Republican politicians. We don't know. We're going to keep digging to find out. Because that's what we're here. That's what we're all about here at Soluble, is to solve it if we can. We're going to put all our intellectual effort, all of our research into solving it. And that's the right thing to do, because now we're in a situation, and we have been in the past, where it always seems as if we're there, but we just can't get over the finish line. We're almost there, but we just can't. It's right there, but we just can't quite get it over the finish line as a people. And this is why. This is a big reason why. Dealing with corrupt Negro politicians who should be championing the causes for the neighborhoods, for their constituents, for the deprived, who want to make a difference, who don't want a handout, but a hand up. And here's the hand up, in the form of $800,000 being raised for scholarship. That's a hand up. But it turns out to be nothing but lies and corruption, scheming, swindling. So, that's going to be our focus going forward, in the new year. We're going to stay on it. Whenever and wherever we find them, we're going to attack it. Because, as I said, we would not be doing our listeners, Negroes in this country who are trying to get on equal footing, we would not be doing them of a service if we don't get the mote out of our own eye when it comes to dealing with Negroes in this country who are politicians. We can't point the finger and say, it's that guy, it's that Caucasian racist. We have to get the mote out of our own eye first. And in order to do that, we're going to have to clean up these corrupt Negro politicians. We're going to have to call them out. We're going to have to vote them out. We have to get petitions up. We're going to have to do any and everything that we can to deal with them. Because now, here at Soluble, in hindsight is 2020, we're realizing that this could be the biggest inhibitor of our progress in this country, of our ability to make progress in this country. Where we have corrupt Negro politicians who have the ways, the means to make lives better, and they're doing anything but. And then at the same time, what's so upsetting is that some of these same corrupt Negro politicians will be the one leading the charge, leading the cry to say, it's these racist Republicans, and it's this and that. Well, the pot can't talk about the kettle. And that's what we have to admit. And it doesn't matter if we look at like, well, they all do it, It ain't just Negroes, it's Caucasians. But, 2 wrongs don't make a right here. 2 wrongs don't make a right. And as I said, this should be more upsetting because these are politicians who should know, as Negroes in this country, who don't come from a long line of inheritance. a long line of wealth. Everything that we get, it's come from work, from our own sweat, from working our way up. So it's worse. It's way worse when we have these politicians in a position to make lives better, create jobs, send kids to college, first generation college out of a family, and they're doing anything but. It's a serious disservice to the people. And so, we're gonna have to, like I said, press the reset button and go. We're gonna do our research over the next couple of days. We're gonna dig deep. We may name a few more names. But we've got to find out to the extent of how deep it runs. We got to find out the extent of how deep it runs. And then once we clean it up, then we could begin to move forward even better than what we are now. We can begin to move forward even better than what we are now. But as of this week, here at Soluble, we've come to understand and realize that there's some corruption going on here with Negroes in politics that can very well be discouraging to would-be voters, young voters, voters who are on the fence when it comes to voting Democrat. We don't understand it. We know that greed is one of the 7 deadly sins. But it's still hard to understand. Well, we have these politicians who are earning a salary, but it's not enough. It's not enough. They don't want to take a side job, a side hustle, to make up for what they're coming up short in their political congressional salary or whatever political position they might hold. They don't want to take a side job, create a side business. They want to take from you and I. And so we're going to take them to task starting tonight and moving forward. We're going to take them to task and try to do everything in our power to clean it up, to stop it, to bring it to the forefront, to expose them in hopes that this kind of political practice will go away and cease to exist among politicians who, especially politicians of color, who we're looking to lead us in the right direction, to create that better economic opportunity for us, to show us the way that helps one make their lives better, take away financial struggle, take away crime out of the neighborhoods, create opportunity. We'd like to thank you for joining us tonight here at Soluble. That's going to do it for this edition of The Corrupt Negro Politician in America. We're going to continue. As I said, we're going to fact find. We're going to do our research to see, how deep the roots of this problem run. And we'll bring it to you, the American people, the Democratic voters, the 94-something percentile, people of color who vote Democrat. We plan to bring it all to you. Keep you well informed, because we constantly need turnout every time, because we know the Republicans are chomping at the bits and waiting to regain power so they could put us back, so they could set us back as a country, as a people. So until our next podcast, we thank you for joining us. We wish you all the success that life can bring in the new year. And we like for you to stay tuned. We're going to try to be as informative and as open as we can, as far as giving you the facts. Unlike your local newsroom, your news organizations who may say you can spin, you can not directly answer the question. Here at Soluble, we're going to try to give you all the direct answers that you need, so that when you listen to us and go away, then there's no more question marks on any given particular subject, to tell it like it is. And that's what we plan to do going forward, exposing corrupt Negro politicians in America. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to coming to you again soon. This is Paul Soluble for now, signing off, saying thank you for joining us. Good night and God bless. Thank you.